Good to go.
Ready?
Yep.
Welcome back to another edition of Hustlepreneur Network. I got everybody's favorite stylist in the building, Cut by Tap. Want to introduce yourself first? Then we'll get into it.
So what's up, y'all? I'm Sean Tapley, owner of Premier Grooming Academy as well as Premier Grooming Lounges.
So, me and Tap go way back. Fortunately for this convo, it makes it a little bit easier. I watched his grind. He watched my grind. We both kind of was going through the same grind, entrepreneurial spirit, since we've known each other. I would just try to say probably like 15 years, at least 16 years, somewhere in that range with 21. So somewhere in that range. And I remember when he was just literally just cutting, and to now see from cutting to having shops, to having schools, to creating lines of hair products, to creating groups, to creating his own podcast, the real embodiment of what the Hustlepreneur stands for. Because we have hustlers, you have entrepreneurs, but when you put them both together, that's kind of what makes the strong, for what we're capturing is the strong person is that person that got both of those mentalities. Because having both mentalities is super hard to have, because you got a lot of talented people. Tap is super talented at just cutting hair. Very well could have just said, I'm just cut hair. But that never led to the business part of it. That, it would never got to the next level where he's at. So we're gonna walk through that journey right now, dig into his brain, get a few questions, see how he became a hustlepreneur. So check it. First thing I always ask everybody is like, in your obviously your opinion counts the most in this question is who are you now versus who are you before you became what you consider yourself a hustlepreneur? Or do you feel like you were always a hustlepreneur?
I feel like I definitely was always a hustlepreneur. I just didn't have the end game in mind at that particular time, but I always knew that I wanted more for myself. You know what I mean? And I know I wanted to make an impact on this city in particular. Who I was before, I was always a hard worker. Whatever job I had, I worked hard. Went to college in Greensboro, graduated with my degree in criminal justice, and worked in juvenile justice, probation, parole for a little bit. I started cutting in college after I had a few bad haircuts. I had a really good barber when I moved down from New York, and when I got here, when I got to Greensboro, I couldn't find a good barber. So I, went to Walmart, got some clippers, started working on myself, and, actually got pretty good at it.
So the importance of this conversation and for why we even filming this is because, personally, I speak personally, at one point I thought everybody had to have the same mentality as me to be what I considered a hustlepreneur.
Right.
On this journey, I realized the mentalities so much differently from beginning to current stage. Meaning, everybody didn't come up in a way that I came, which doesn't mean nothing. We walked the same mountain. The analogy we were using before, me and Crank, was, when you see goats to the top of the mountain, it's not just one goat. There's a bunch of them up
Absolutely.
there. But you're just
It's a
trying
lot
to
of
figure out,
goats.
some of them fell though. Some of
goats.
them don't make it up there, some of them on the side of the thing.
Right.
So when you see a goat that did not walk your path and you see him up there, it's wow, how did that happen? You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, you saying, okay, well, I worked jobs, I did this. Was there any influence in your life that somebody that was just truly entrepreneurial spirit, or was there somebody in your life that was like always working and always had something going on? What was the transition, or was it just your own transition that led to that?
My uncle, I look at my uncle Percy. He had a car stereo store in Virginia, in Newport News, Virginia. And I remember in the summer times, I used to come down from New York and work there with him, and just to see I didn't realize what I was seeing at that time, but that entrepreneur, that hustlepreneur spirit was put into me just then and there. He showed me how to navigate and try to sell clients car stereos. That was a very rewarding thing to me, and I think that it laid the foundation for me in barbering, knowing that I had the ability to make somebody purchase something.
So there's a click, right? There's a click when somebody knows they can hustle. It's a click when somebody knows they're an entrepreneur, right? So before I get to that particular question, you said prior to actually becoming a licensed barber, what were some of the jobs you had?
Well, I worked at juvenile justice probation parole in Greensboro, but I remember the turning point for me is I went to church one day, and I remember the pastor saying, the will of God for your life is anything you love to do and will do it for free if you could afford to. And I thought about what I loved so much, and I would do it for free if I really could afford to, and it was cutting hair. I found myself, head watching when I go to malls. I'm sitting back and I'm looking at people's haircuts,
Designs.
wondering, if it was a good haircut, how can I do it that good? Or if it wasn't a good haircut, how can I improve on that haircut? So, I had to humble myself. It was definitely a humbling experience, graduating from college and then having to apply to barber school.
How old were you when you started cutting in a shop?
25.
25. So that means now, mind you, as grown-ups right now, when we look at 25-year-olds, we would say, hey, they have a lot on their shoulder, they know a lot. And the reality is they don't.
They really don't.
They don't, right? So,
really don't.
and that's not a knock. It's just there's not enough experience. You have only been really an adult for 5 years.
Absolutely.
You've been a kid most of your life at that point. So now you're an adult and you're saying, hey, I'm getting ready to work for myself. What's that experience? What part of that was, in that mind, was that a hustler mind or was that an entrepreneur mind at that point? Where do you think you were at that point?
I think there's a difference. I said it before. There's a difference between being self-employed and being an entrepreneur. Those are two different things. Being self-employed, you can be as selfish as you need to be about getting the end result for yourself. When you become an entrepreneur, that's less about yourself and more about your staff or the people around you and the bigger things that you're trying to build. When I first started off in barbering, I probably would say that I was definitely self-employed. I had the hustle skills. I grinded, but that didn't make me an entrepreneur
At all.
Just because you hustle hard and just because you grind, it does not make you an entrepreneur. It wasn't through. I didn't have my first barbershop until 8 years ago.
Stop right there, right? Because this is so important. I'm glad you led me to this because we talk about this. We have now been talking about this, what I'm about to bring up for the last maybe 3 or 4 times I've seen you. That particular stage right there is the stage most people do not recognize. So we always talk about people seeing the mountain and it looking like you can touch the top of the mountain. When new barbers come to see Tap, first thing they saying is, I cut better than, not even in a funny way.
Right.
As you should.
That's a fact.
Shit,
should.
when Kobe came in the league, he thought he was better than Jordan,
That's
right?
a fact.
It's a fact.
That's a
So
fact.
it's not I'm not saying that to say that people shouldn't feel they are,
Yes.
but they're looking at it as you tangible, like, oh,
Right.
he right here with us. Not seeing the mountain. Everybody can see it's like
That's good.
you see a basketball goal and you're like, oh, it ain't but 10 feet. I could dunk that.
Right.
Yo, Jordan been dunking for 20 years, champ. You feel
Exactly.
me? If you come out here today thinking you're gonna just dunk just like that, that messes up. That entrepreneur part of it in the world of barbershop, because that world is so big and it's been existing longer than 90% of actual businesses. Cutting somebody's, grooming somebody has been existing, whether you call it barbershop or not. Kings, emperors have had groomsmen
Absolutely.
thousands of years.
Thousands of years.
Thousands
Barbering
of years.
is the oldest profession.
Oldest profession. So with that being said, the entrepreneurial spirit of it, we've talked about this. Do you think there's been a dip, meaning that nobody really cares about the mountain you climb to get from barber to owner to top chair or whatever it is, to owner, to several owners, to school, to seeing the plateau. The plateau is, I love what I do. Let me show people how to become what I do.
Right.
Is that art lost in entrepreneurship as far as the barbershop goes?
I think for our generation in barbering, we had to do those type of things. I think with the new generation now, because of technology, sometimes success is a little more attainable in a quicker way. I had to beat the streets, when I was coming up in barbering. I had to go out to clubs, pass out cards. I had to go to Walmart,
Right.
Target, places like that. We didn't have the internet. I didn't have Instagram where I can reach over thousands of people with one swipe.
With that being said, is it sound? I'm hearing a little bitterness.
No.
Hearing a little bitterness.
Do
Hearing a
you
little
hear
bitterness. Is it to their advantage
Absolutely.
to do so, or is it to your advantage to show them what that out? Because here's my thing, from this is an outside looking in perspective. I'm not a barber, so
Right.
and I don't run that part of the business.
Okay.
But from the outside, that's why I keep bringing this conversation up. The outside perspective would seem as if the OGs may have not or may have dropped the ball of showing the step because they got to the mountain, and not that they got to the mountain and turned people around because you now got a school.
Absolutely.
But nobody can't see you grinding anymore. There's no footage of you grinding. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the people that know is me. I was there with you. I was out in the
Right.
streets when you was trying to get it together.
Right.
But they will have footage of them grinding forever. That's the difference. Is that a new way for that entrepreneurship, or is that something where you feel like, okay, the old way needs to be implemented in order to get people where they be, or the new way it is what it is, we need to adapt? What is your thought on that part?
I think you, as a veteran barber, I think it's very dangerous when you get stuck in your ways and you can't adapt. The last 7 dying words of a veteran barber is, "I've never done it that way before."
Strong.
You have to be willing
You
to-
hear that somebody saying that they on their way out the door? Is what
They're
you're
on their
saying?
way out the door. Or these kids, I love this industry. I love, I'm a barber's barbers. I say to to all of my students all the time. But I want them to go places that I've never been. They have the access, the resources that we didn't have. We had to beat the streets because there was no other way for us to
other people.
meet the masses. You know what I'm saying? You have you have Instagram now. You have other apps where you can be in front of multiple different people.
So, and just because we both from an old school era, give a little bit of view of how social media can gather 50 plus clients in months, 2 months time. Because
Absolutely.
so what were some of the gems that you would give so people that catch us later in the world, and let's just say, hey, they caught it on YouTube, but their social media is down, or they're just not active on social media and they want to be a barber? What is something that you could say, yo, these are nuggets that I use prior to my social media thing? Because now you do have social media and you use it big, and it's built your platform to get you to another level. So to your point of adapting, you have become the giraffe and said, okay, my neck is going to get longer.
Absolutely.
As opposed to saying, I'm going to just try to stay short. I'm going to just grow the same way these other people are growing. But prior to that, what was some of the nuggets you can give out to somebody said, yo, these is gems how I was getting 50 plus clientele monthly?
And I'll say, in barbering, cutting hair is probably about 30% of it. 70% of it is relationship. So it's knowing how to talk to people. It's building relationship. Well, I am not, I'll say it right now. I'm good at what I do, but I'm not the best hair cutter out here. There's people that are way more talented than what I am.
Right.
But there's 2 things. You're not going to out-hustle me. You're not going to outwork me. And it's about relationships. I'm really good. God has blessed me with the opportunity to be able to talk to anybody and make anyone feel comfortable. People don't come to me necessarily just for the haircut. They come to me because of relationship. They don't jump into another barber's chair because they feel like, yo, that's my boy.
This is true. This is true. This is me. I if I ain't gonna cut my own bald head,
Right.
I got to go him, and I have to wait. And if he got to put me in the good, it works that way as well. And part of that, like he just said, what a hustlepreneur knows for sure, if he knows nothing else, is his net work, is his net worth.
Absolutely.
So again,
That's good. Say that again, Fresh.
your net work is your net worth. You know what I'm saying? It depends on who your circle is, where you're gonna go, money wise, financially wise. These kind of things is kind of like what pushes you to a different plateau, because if you're the most talented but don't nobody know you, there's nothing you can do about it.
And
you know what I mean?
And see, those things right now is what social media does for the industry. And that's why I'm proud of that, because there's a lot of talented barbers out here that couldn't be shown. You got some of these small towns down in South Carolina and North Carolina, all over the country, and you really couldn't be exposed to the talent that some of these barbers had. Now, having Instagram, having, social media, you're able to put those images out there and people are able to see them that weren't able to see them before.
When did you realize you had to blend the two for your lifestyle to be conducive to being successful or free? When I say that, I don't speak on monetary value because everybody's monetary value is different. Some
Right.
people want to be millionaires, gazillionaires, billionaires. Some people want to be free. Some people make 10,000 free. So money is not. It's just a tool, in my opinion. So when I ask that question, I'm saying, at what point did you say, hey, I need to be not only this personality, but not only figure out how to make this business, I got to figure out how to do both of these because, listen, all right, so here's the thing, family starts to play. You can do the hustler part forever and just be self-reliant and never really have to have any responsibility but yourself.
Absolutely.
And to be fair, several men and women do that. They choose to say, I don't want to join nothing because it's a lot easier just to be self-reliant and not
Absolutely.
if you want to let yourself down, you can go cry about that yourself.
Right.
But if you're truly an adult, you don't really want to let your loved one down. No matter if you did or not, it hurts you more to let somebody else. You can let yourself down and keep it moving.
Right.
It's harder to let somebody else down. What was it that hit you that said, man, I got to be able to do both of these because the one is good, but the other is, I'm not getting, maybe I'm just like a hamster at this point, I'm running in a circle. What made you just say, I need to do both?
Right. You know, any entrepreneur or any hustlepreneur, I love that word. Any hustlepreneur knows that, you know, in order for you to establish anything, there has to be sacrifice. You got to put in them long hours. And having a good mate, a good wife like I have, you know, she kind of helps cover some of the weaknesses I have at the house because I am at work so long. And so she does spend a little bit more time with the kids than I do. So now I knew that I couldn't just be that grinding. Now I got to find an exit clause. But I love the industry so much, I have to expand myself. I can't no longer work in the business. I got to work on the business. So those are different things.
Say that again now.
I can't just work in the business any longer. I have to work on the business.
It's strong that you said that because the conversation that I have regularly with people that are so talented is, when's the last time you've hired somebody 80 years old? That's your talent. Have you even considered hiring a 70-year-old cameraman? You ever considered getting your hair cut by a 70-year-old barber?
Haven't even considered it.
Never even considered it. Why not? They got the most wisdom. They've been cutting for 50 years.
Right.
What would make it? It's because you can't do it forever, and you know that at some point there's going to be a step loss. And if you don't work on the business, you're going to continuously working in the business.
In the business.
This is why you do see the sporadic 70-year-old barbershops in a small town, the 70-year-old truck drivers, the 70-year-old painter or teacher. You know, it's because this is not a knock because they still are and probably are making great money doing because they have a trade or they have a profession. So that's not. Let's be clear that wasn't said to say they did something wrong. That's said to say growth. Now, what we can't argue is they did not grow. That's what we can't argue. Now, are they making good money? Absolutely. Are they satisfied? Are they even free? Correct. Did they grow? It's a fact they have not, based on you have not worked on the business. You worked in the business so long. You're the most, we don't know any great 60-year-old basketball players or football players. They all pretty good at 20s and 30s, and then the really great ones work on the business after that, whether they own teams, buy teams, coach teams, become a jersey apparel, whatever it is. That was a strong point to make. And that clicking of what you said, having a mate at the house that allows you to get to where you need to be, and then you have to tell yourself, I owe that back more once I got there. You know what I mean? Because that right there will complete your circle, or it will damage your circle if you abuse it.
If you abuse it,
if you abuse it, it will damage your circle to say, oh, I got him now. Now just stay over there. Right. A lot of stuff is full circle with a hustlepreneur because they're wearing so many hats every day. It's almost as if their personal hat is kind of put to the side because you really just your job is really to please people. Like you said, you would do it for free if feasible.
And it's definitely draining. Anyone that's in business for themselves know that it's draining. And I don't know, it just happened to be like that. But most of my close friends are business owners.
It attracts. You attract what you attract. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Me and Crank, we work together. That's how our relationship built. I didn't come from a working environment at all. I couldn't, the mentality of it, I couldn't get. I knew how to work hard.
Right.
I was the best there.
Right.
Me and him, between me and him, you know, I'll give him small credit. He was Scotty.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He was Scotty.
Little Scotty.
You know what I'm saying? He was Scotty. You know what I mean? He was Scotty, you know what I'm saying? But
Right.
Scotty got all the rings that Jordan got as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
And accolades, and all-star team,
That's
and
good. That's good.
and went to the dream team, everything. So you can say what you want about Scotty, but he went everywhere damn near Jordan went. You know what I'm saying? But the mentality was different. And I think even with that analogy with Jordan and Scotty, mentality is what the only thing that separated the both of them, because talent-wise it's arguable. It's arguable because they went the same heights.
Yep.
Mentality is kind of what it was for me working at a place was like, yo, and I'm bringing it to full circle of what you attract.
Yep.
I couldn't have really, and he will tell you, nobody really was like equal to me at that spot. As far as how I talked, how I did things, how I operated, it was unmatched. I was almost as if I was the manager mentality, right? So when I look at other people, you know, kind of hiding and ducking off or running when the bosses come, I'm like, shit, for what? I did all my work. I'm a hard worker. I'm here to do what I was supposed to do.
That's good.
I'm not here to be, I ain't here to be scared for nobody. You gonna fire me? If you gonna fire me, you gonna fire me at the top or the bottom. It ain't no, and I'd rather poke my chest out because I'm at the top. Maybe I got a little bit more wiggle room in my mind. You know what I mean?
And let me touch on that too, because you said when you did work for someone, you rose to the top.
Right.
But see, that's what happens when you are an entrepreneur and you are a hustler and you are a leader like that. Whatever organization you in, that cream is going to rise to the top.
This is true.
I think about myself. Every single barbershop I've ever been in, I've always became the manager of that shop.
This is true.
And it was almost like I was forced into opening up my own shop. Every single shop that I've ever worked in, I've always, went up the ladder and became. And you've been with me.
Yeah,
every
I was
step of the
definitely
way.
watching. And that was one of those things. That's why I asked, when did it click?
Yeah.
Because same thing with me. They tried to put me in management position. I'm like,
Yeah.
shit, that don't make no sense.
Right.
I'm getting ready to take on longer hours, and I'm already making more money than
Exactly,
them. So that,
exactly.
and me, I'm like, oh no, I keep me where I'm at.
Right.
But also, I was like, oh, if I do that, now I'm staying in the mentality of people who are always scared and fearful of getting bigger.
Yep.
So it was like, oh, I got to break, because it's like, yo, in this world, it's lead up, one step.
Right.
And, you know what I'm saying? And take little bit of increments with longer hours. Stay down here with people who are not as in a mental space as you. And that's not a knock to them, it's just they're not in the same mental space that you're in.
Right.
And that's hard to be. Like you said, most of your friends are business owners. It'd be hard for you to have people that are strictly living by the 9-to-5 mentality. Just strictly, nothing wrong with that. But if they wouldn't understand your freedom, your hours, your time
And
frame.
vice versa.
Yeah, you wouldn't either.
And vice versa,
So
right.
you getting up at 8 or 5 and doing what you want to do and being done by 12, they couldn't understand those conversations when
Right.
you're leaving. They start thinking, oh, he ain't doing nothing. He ain't did nothing all day long. What do you mean? I did more hours than you probably for myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that clicking of knowing, that was why that question was there. And full circle of saying all your friends being, 100% of them being business owners is a testament to saying, hey, listen, it's only attracting what it is. It's not that I'm hating on, if you work 9 to 5, I'm not gonna really not be a friend.
Right.
You just won't be around me as long because I'm different, I'm thinking totally different, my hours are different, I'm calling you at different times when you can't, respond or
And I
give me
remember it was a
feedback.
time with my wife, because my wife, she still works a 9 to 5. Just explaining the differences. Sometimes when she wanted me to take off, and it was kind of like, it's different for an entrepreneur, because when she takes off work, sometimes she has paid days off.
There's never a paid day off as a
When I take a day off,
you may lose money. Unless you work on the business.
right, not
The
only
business
do I
start paying
not
on you.
make money, but I potentially can lose money.
Yep. I have to pay for something. The lights still got to go on the computer, the internet. These
Absolutely, absolutely. So that's the biggest difference, that, it's a mindset of.
What would you, a little gem for any future barber that's working their way up to head barber, to stylist, to owner, to school owner, what are undercover costs that people don't know about in the barbershop game that typically take people out?
That's a really good question. Probably one thing I would say to a young barber who is aspiring to potentially one day become an owner, or people that's just even thinking about getting into this industry, count the costs. Understand the first few years. I just got finished talking to a group of students. The first 3 years in this industry is going to be.
Before you answer, break down the undercover cost of a barber as opposed to an owner, and if the person actually wanted to take it to the next level of having a school. So give us 3 undercover, small, there ain't gotta be a whole bunch, just 3 small undercover calls that want everybody that's a rookie in that stage may just have not known at all or just blew their mind and say, damn, this is probably what took my man out of business.
That's good. All right, so from a barber's perspective, in this industry, the first 3 years of once you graduate from school, it's all sacrifice. It's long hours. It's early mornings. It's late nights. It's working through holidays. It's all of that for the first 3 years to really establish yourself. You do those for the first 3 years, you're going to establish yourself. Now, deciding whether or not from an ownership perspective, you need to do a self-evaluation to see if you really are a leader, to see if people really want to follow you. What do you have to offer other people?
Do you feel you have to, as far as owning a shop, that somebody needs to, you have to have a personality that people like? Or can you just own a shop and let it run? Or are those hand in hand? Because I don't know. I mean, is typically an owner of a barbershop, do they typically work in there, or is it just sometimes somebody just owns a shop and just put people in there?
I think you can have an owner who, like I have a partnership, so me and my partner does not cut hair, but I am the barber, so he would be probably the CFO and I would be the COO,
right?
Of this business. I think it's important if you are not a barber owning a shop that you get a barber that you really trust that can execute what you want to go across. You absolutely, from an owner's perspective, a manager perspective, you need to be a people's person. You absolutely need to. That's the number one reason why I see shops go down the drain. Is leadership, is management, is ownership. If you are not people persons in this industry, it's gonna go to hell.
It's funny because that's why I asked this question, because in my mind, I would have thought it was as simple as finding an open space, throwing a chair. So with that, I know Mark. So would you believe that? And this is no knock to Mark, because Mark is strong in several areas.
Yeah.
Do you think if there was no tap, could Mark run a shop successfully? Just based on his skills, not because he don't cut hair.
Right.
Based on his skills of just knowing businesses.
Yes.
Can he run a shop successfully without a barber?
Absolutely, I think that Mark can run a, because.
And is that just Mark, or are you saying anybody?
I'm saying just Mark.
Okay. I got you.
Because one thing I know about him is that he's going to find the right person for this particular job. He would find, he wasn't going to find a tap.
Right. For sure.
But he would find something very comparable
Close
in terms of that understands the industry. He wouldn't go into an industry where, he hadn't crossed all his T's and dotted his I's. So I think that's the number one mistake a lot of owners, because a lot of people, just because you got money doesn't mean that you can just open up a shop.
That's very relevant to that, because there are businesses where you don't need to know anything.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. You have to be knowledgeable about a lot of things.
Yeah.
You can fall ass backwards in certain stuff, but from the people that we've been interviewing so far, even a lot of them didn't come from that background.
Right.
But when they got in it and their money got in it, there was classes being taken, there was courses being taken, there was something that said, hey, I got to have some basic ABC knowledge of that.
Right.
Being an owner does not mean you don't have any basic ABC. Owners really just have the money and say, I have an idea.
Right.
So that's why I asked that question, because hey.
And I welcome a lot of non-barber owners into the industry, especially the ones that have big money, because eventually when the shop doesn't do well, then that'll be an opportunity for going in.
There you go.
And
It's a dip, like a stock.
And they've already did the foundation for us. So.
Now, is there a difference between, in 2021, barbershop and stylist or beauty shop? Like, in my era, there was a clear, line in the sand, but of the two. In my era, there was, you never went to your mother's, went with your mama get his hair done. You didn't even know what, unless you were like literally your mom it was just you and your mama. Then she had nowhere else to go. Then possibly, but that you still didn't do that at all. So
and see, that's evolution in itself too, because back in the day it used to be so segregated, where you had stylists over here and you had barbers on the other side. And the only time women used to come into the barbershop is after they went to their stylist and they got their hair done.
Or their sons.
They wanted the back of their neck, tapered out.
Or they bring their sons there. Okay.
I had to find a spot.
It's so funny because,
we did too. I wasn't like,
must have did some dope or came from the background.
Right.
I was like, man, I worked, and it was just, eye opener.
Right.
Never even touched the streets. I was like, that's
Wow.
crazy. It was just an eye opener
Right.
to not judge people, by the look. You like, shit, my paper up. That's
Right.
why this look like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, and I respect that. So, you good? Shop. Or the kids.
For the
bring
kids.
that-
That's the only
Like
thing
we
that
seen a woman in the shop.
So with that being said, would you say that the same now can be done for a man and woman, or I don't even want to gender separate that? Could a man own a beauty shop and it not be like how? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's fluid on both sides. I think right now you have a lot of talented female barbers out here, right here. A lot of talented female barbers, as well as you have a lot
And
of.
do you know a lot of female barber shop owners not? That's barber shop, not beautician and that.
Yes, I know a couple. I don't know a lot of females that own barbershop, but I know a couple. I know of a couple. But now, and I think, the evolution of the industry of barbering, more barbers are becoming more knowledgeable, like myself, with colors, relaxers, texturizers, different things that, women used to go to the stylist before and then come to the barber. Now that area is getting cut out. And now you can come to the barber and it's a one-stop shop.
And see, I asked that because, the entrepreneur, the hustlepreneur, one part that I try to emphasize is the hustle. The hustle meaning if I got one block, I got to figure out how I'm getting everything milking this block.
Yeah.
Now, people say, menu or you know what I'm saying? So like, okay, now you can be the one keep on giving it away, but you can be the one trying to figure out how you're gonna get your piece as well. So, as a hustle, I'm thinking, okay, we're so metro nowadays, there really should be no reason to be titled barbershop or beautician. We're still looking about the old traditions where there was raising men in the shop and these kind of things. That goes back to the question I was asking earlier, where's that art form at? Because we come from an art form where your daddy brung up, you had conversations in there,
Right.
you talked about certain things, you learned how to be certain things, inadvertently you learned how to be a man through certain people out there. I remember Dad going, I don't even know if you know Bo, but this Bo was, you know Bo, that's a long time.
Come on, man. I'm filling in the industry.
I know Bo.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter was like,
They was the room over there.
you know what I mean? They were shop owners. Yeah. Certain people that I was like, that was inadvertently, I didn't know what it meant at that point, but growing up, then I think back and I'm like, oh, these cats own shops. They used to have cats in there cleaning up, doing that kind of thing. It raised the people that wanted to be raised. They couldn't save everybody, but they put some little spark in you like, oh, don't eat because you ain't got it. So let's come on over here because this is what we did. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Do we need to still have that, or do we need to grow and say everybody need to be in one spot as a hustle for somebody? Speaking from your perspective as a hustlepreneur who now has shops, or do you feel that, hey, one, I'm excluding myself from business by not doing that, or are you saying, I need to try to keep it in a traditional form?
I don't think it has to be either or. I think two can mutually exist. I think you can be both. I think you can be a mentor to a young man, and you can bring in the revenue from both, not just males, but females as well. I have some female clientele that are interested into getting into working for themselves, that I need to pour into as well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
That's my point. Like, if you see, we come from tradition, right? People say, well, who am I to break tradition? I'm a tradition breaker. Yeah, that's who I am. I am one. Yeah.
I thought you was the king.
I thought I was the king. You feel me? Who am I to break traditions? I'm the king. I am here to break traditions that I can't no longer soundly hold on to.
Right.
You can give me something because people have been doing stuff for so long. Whatever meaning it was, it got lost in translation. So the next generation didn't get able to teach it. So now you don't even know. When somebody says, why do you do that? Oh, that's just what we do.
You don't know.
I have no idea why I do it. And I can't live my life of living over, I have no idea why I'm doing certain things. I need to know why I'm doing it so I can improve on it.
So the biggest thing between, it's really the same thing. Barbers can do everything stylists can do.
The only thing is, stylists can't do everything that barbers can do. The difference between the two.
Say that again, stylists can't do everything that barbers. Let them go to the same class?
No, it's very similar in the hours. Stylists have to do $1,500. Barbers have to be 1,528. The difference between the two is that barbers can do a perform a shave with a razor, right? Stylists can't do that with a razor.
Or you're not licensed to do
They're
that.
not licensed to do that
Gotcha.
under their license.
Gotcha.
See, a barber cannot work under a cosmetologist's license, but a cosmetologist can work under a barber's license. So that's the only difference between barbering and cosmetology. Is because for the most part, we come out of the same book. It's just they're more focused on relaxers, colors, and different things like that. We focus a little bit more on haircuts and shell and shaving.
So, and I'm after this last, I'm gonna leave this particular topic. In this world, I feel with the way they're busting genders down so bad, I don't feel like it will ever be as big as it was traditional shops as it will be in the future, as you just coming in and everybody a supercuts kind of model, which they have been trying to push on. The community has been invented. I don't think that supercuts and all these other mega cut things was invented accidentally. Corporations have a 15, 20 year plan. They ain't listening. They ain't worried about the first 4 or 5 years. You go in there, get a ball cut. Everybody gets that kind of thing. There's no talking. There's no relationship.
Exactly.
You're saying I built this off of a personal relationship, but you can see the corporate people that ain't got nothing to do with nothing at that point. It's literally about availability, like how they got Walmarts and how they got McDonald's. Whoever's the closest in my neighborhood, and if I can set up here,
right? And there's certain people that's cool with that. They just want that cut, come in, get that, and leave. They don't want the conversation. Some people are beat up all throughout the week on their job, on their 9 to 5. See, the barbershop is a place where somebody can be something. You know what I mean? You can be whoever you want to be in the barbershop. I'm not going to stop you from being whoever you want to be. Right. And that's good. But, during the whole week, you work in corporate America, boss man is beating you down. You can come in here, you can have opinions about whatever you want to talk about in the barbershop. You can talk about sports, you can be the man here in the barbershop. And that's, some people are looking for that, and some people are not looking for that. Right? So now,
that bit. What were some of your goals from the time that you actually became a barber to present day? Like, do you write down goals? Do you just have a list of goals in your head? Like, what is your process of goal conquering? What was your list of goals, and what was your process of goal conquering?
So I break my goals down into probably about 3 different categories. I do a yearly goal, something I want to do immediately. Then I do like a 5-year goal. Then I do like a 10+ goal. Okay. With the opportunity to readjust any of those goals.
As a young barber, a 25-year-old barber, what was a year goal to tap? Did he have any at the point? Was he freestyling?
No, I wanted to be able to make certain benchmarks in terms of financial benchmarks. Like if it was make $800 this week, $1,000 this week, $1,500 this week. Or, work my way up to 2,000, 3,000, or,
25-year-old tap have a 5-year goal? Actually see yourself being owner at that time, or that wasn't fathomable at that time?
I think I did. My concept of being an owner changed how I saw myself as an owner. Because I think when you first start off, you're like, I want to do my shop like this and do my shop like that. But, I forgot exactly who it was. Was it Steve Harvey even said it took him 30+ years to become an overnight success?
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think that's what it is. It's still a lot of fine tuning and just understanding. The more you know, the more that sometimes those goals change a little bit. Because you're like, oh, I didn't even know this about the industry. And I'm sitting over here saying I want to do it like this.
Listen.
Okay, well, I see why this particular business doesn't do it like that. Because now I have the knowledge of why that can't work.
I tell my girl all the time, she always sees me change, or what she thinks mid-drift into another business. And it's not so much that, it's just I have now seen the top of the mountain. I'm like, I can't be down here too much longer because it's not conducive to getting to the top.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, if you drive a truck, all right, that's your foot in the door.
Right.
Then you realize, well, damn, I got to drive a truck forever. Or I need to get out and get multiple trucks. Saying cutting, man. Oh, I love cutting. Hold on, I don't want to be cutting until I'm 60. I need to get a shot. I need to bring some other income. I need to get school. I need to be involved with other things. That is one of those light bulbs that kind of always hit me like, damn. It's not that I'm stopping what I believed in is now. I'm like, oh, somebody showed me the light to the. Somebody flickered the light.
Just adjusting yourself.
Yeah, you just adjusting that, and if you don't, it's just a part of what you're gonna grow. I'm not saying that you won't be okay down here. You just won't extend your neck like a giraffe.
Absolutely.
Now, what is today's 2021's 1 year goal tap?
I kind of eliminated the 1 year goal.
Okay.
So now the 1 year goal has become like 3 year goal. So I'm just
short term to you?
that's short term. 3 years is short term. I noticed some of my goals might be a little bit lofty, so I can't do them in a year. But I do have some benchmarks to get into the short term goals. But it's an exit plan. You know, I'm trying to see how I can reproduce myself and exit the industry at the same time. When I say the industry, I'm just saying from behind the chair every day. Not working in the industry, but working on the industry.
And so that was a long-term goal.
Well, I'm talking about multiple schools, as well as multiple shops, being financially independent, empowering barbers into ownership under the umbrella of Premier, split my power up, allow, people treat your business a little different when they feel like, they're invested in it.
Do you see yourself cutting in 5 to 10 years?
Then I want to. Probably, definitely not for every day job that I'm doing right now. Definitely not.
Do you feel this is going to be transferable to the family? Or do you want to make the family inherit this? I ask that because part of being an entrepreneur is about also wanting to make sure, us particularly people are fathers, so I'm not disrespecting the mothers at all, but because I'm speaking with men right now, we're looking at family stuff like, damn, we sometimes, it's a catch-22. We think, hey, do we want our kids to go through this? And then I also think, damn, why would I not want my kids to go through certain things? I know what I don't want them to go through, but I know what makes me stronger. Can they be as strong is always our fear, same as our parents' fear was. You think about your parents coming from an era that you couldn't even fathom. The 60s is the worst era in United States history. There's not been a worse history in United States than the 60s. And if all our parents was in that era, the fear of them was like, shit, bro, they was killing. No camera, didn't matter what was going on in the newspaper, everything killing. The fear is different. So what I say that is this transferable, the knowledge that you're gonna do? Are you gonna try to tell your kids do what they wanna do? Are you gonna try to tell your kids, what's that thought process?
So that's a great question. That's the million-dollar question. How much do you allow your child just to, go after your own dreams?
Or what's the purpose of you setting a foundation of legacy in place if you're just going to allow your child to do
whatever they want to do?
Son is going to take over Walmart.
Did he have a choice to do whatever? Did he have a choice to do what he wanted to do?
I don't even think it would have been a question. I don't even think he would have even told him to do anything else. Now, is that my question to that is that right? Do you transfer what you built? Or do you think, hey, let me try to see if you can build something else? If that's the case, what do you leave the legacy for? How do you balance that for entrepreneurs? How does that balance right there?
Right.
You have a
but then it's the same thing too. Like, when sometimes when people buy land, just think about the Host Boulevard land. It was owned by black couple way back in the day, right? They did it down to their family. Sold it.
Correct.
So if you think that person had a land to acquire all this land just to sell it, and now you there?
Nothing to leave. Now you renting. Now you renting on
Now
top
your
of that.
kids is renting?
Listen, I'll give you a prime example of that. My girl's family, her father had like 50 acres. They down to like 5 based on similarities. Not selling it and doing it.
What you doing with the money?
So, I'm like, oh, well, let's capture the one. With that because, again, we're going to work. It's got to be left to a point where you gotta take this. So in my mind, if I don't give you the business, I gotta give you the mentality of what I feel. So it's not so much about the business that I want you to take over. It's you gotta take over my mentality as the kid because I may not be able to transfer my business
and want you to work
or want to be a barber or whatever. But I mean,
that's it.
But
it's almost important, at least
in my opinion, at least nudge them your direction is something of you built. For you to absolutely, or me to absolutely not even attempt to say try these things, I feel I'd be doing an injustice to them. You know what I'm saying?
Because you gotta go to your kids first, right? You
I
gotta
hope.
check the temperature.
We don't.
You gotta check the temperature and see, look, is this something that,
Because
they go out there looking at them and say,
the hours what daddy did or the hours mommy did and this, that, and I don't want to do that, I don't want to this, I don't want to do that. But again,
Absolutely.
what you can't take away is the hustlepreneur, the mentality is what we're trying to, what I want to say to transfer to them. Like, if we can't transfer the business per se, transferring the mentality of that, or answer that question. I'm not giving a statement. I'm saying, do you say that, or do you say, hey, listen, nah, you go ahead and work the 9 to 5. You go do all of this stuff because I know what I did and it didn't work for me. Where do you stand with that? Do you give the kids that mentality? For my answer is yes. I'm going to give them that mentality. If they decide that just ain't gonna keep fighting it, I'm probably going to fight it to them until they die. I ain't going to lie to you. I ain't going to never give up on it. Now,
because at the end of the day, no one can pay you what you're worth.
That's what I would be trying to emphasize on them, that your value is being dictated by somebody else. I'm not telling you not to do this for a little bit to get to another step, but your value is being dictated by somebody else. That's why the mentality of me beating this into you is strong. But some people don't feel like that.
I agree wholeheartedly with you right there on that. Like, you want your kids, you want better for your kids. That's why you work so hard, right? Right. You work hard. It's kind of an oxymoron, right? It's just, you work hard so your kids can have it easier, right? But then where do they get that grind at? Where do they get that mental toughness from?
We talked about that.
Because their whole day, eventually right now, is to make it easier on your kids, right? So then how do they have mental toughness?
They don't. They say the grandfather that worked hard made the father got easier, which is the grandkid now in a lost space. Because he didn't inherit anything that the grandfather actually nothing. The father got it easy, so he gave it to somebody easy, and now the grandson is actually in a worse shape from a lineage that shouldn't.
So I was going to say, the main thing I think we're talking about is where we've got to start teaching management to our kids. The norm will be what we show them.
Absolutely.
So it's like what you got to say about, will they go to 9 to 5? No, the norm is going to be, I saw dad do this.
It's not always true.
But I'm saying their norm in their household.
Correct.
If they're in the household, they're going to say, no, he did this. I don't even know the world of barbershop.
Right.
I
Absolutely.
know, your
And
dad
just even on camera, we can have a conversation. Cause you got a daughter, right? So when she's about 16, you want to get a car? What kind of car?
What kind of car?
What kind of car you put in?
Oh, the
car will be
paid off. No payment. So that I'm picturing
What you get at 16?
paid off. I never had a payment. I didn't have a payment until I was adult.
But you had to pay off car, right?
I bought cash. Not expensive.
But is it going to be, then she's going to probably have a different kind of car than you have, right?
Let's hope so. Sure.
I don't think your trajectory is going to, I feel like you got to make sure that she's doing a little bit better than.
Like, well, my first car might have been a $500 to $1,000 car.
Yeah.
I could afford it.
Yeah.
I'm running her car. It should be $5,000 to $10,000, $15,000. What I'm saying, the mentality is don't go into debt. I'm trying to teach. That's what I want to teach.
You're not going into debt.
Correct.
So what I'm saying is, so your parents, see, that was different. Like, I had to buy my own. So I had to kind of like save up, so I pieced it together. I had a little $1,500. So let's say I had to save some money to put it together. So my daughter, with Christmas, I'm like looking at cars now to buy her. And it's kind of like, the expectation is that I would get her a car. So then, where does the hard work come in at?
And she's got to pay the insurance. She's got to get it maintenance.
But what you're going to say is, right, you don't have to focus on school, right? You don't have to focus on...
No, I wouldn't. See, now...
So why can't we be the one? We set it up, so now we've got to live with it. That those privileges are now with our kids.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. We can't assume that we can't. Everything can't be hard all the time. Like, I mean, it just so happens to be that we're privileged. You're creating privileges for your kids.
That's exactly
to
it.
live in it.
But is that good?
No, I can't go.
But is that good?
Train in that privilege, though. That's what I'm saying.
It's tough, though. It's tough because
That's... See what I'm saying? I wanted you to say that, but you didn't.
Let's be clear. In my mind, it's going. no matter how much cash I got, even if it's $30,000 or $50 that I got to spend on the car, it will be bought to where she knows we're not making no payments on this, and that's how she will be learned to purchase her vehicles. If you can't afford to buy a vehicle, you can't afford. You don't have $30,000, you don't get a $30,000 vehicle. That would be my lesson. So I'm not getting ready to get you a $30,000 car, and then if I'm not around and you have to you're gonna be 40, 50. At some point, you got to teach your kids what you gonna keep doing. You see what I'm saying? Now you got to know that, okay, you can buy within your budget and live within your means. That doesn't say that your means ain't 50,000. That's to say live within the means that you got. You know, like you said, when we was 17, 18, trying to get somewhere, man, we had to hustle up $500, $800 and go get an $800 car. And guess what it taught us? How to make sure that car ran for years. You get new cars, they crash them, they wreck them. No value on this car. They don't even care nothing. When you had a $1,000 car and that shit wouldn't crank up, you washed it, the radio in the car, you did everything to make sure the value of that car meant something. It taught me the value. All I want to make sure is the mentality instills.
We had that conversation about blowing the first bag.
Correct. Everybody's gonna blow the first bag. Always. You're big bag. Always. And again, if you don't inherit money, when you hustle up for money, it's candy shop.
I inherited and earned it, and I just say that to say that again, we have got to, we got to believe those words that we can create privileges and then operate in them. That's all I'm saying. Like the Walton, like you said about Walton. No, Walton had to learn the process of Walmart to manage it. It is what it is. You can't say, hey, bro.
He ain't gonna manage nothing. He's gonna inherit an ownership.
But I'm saying you don't say to him, you need to start and try to build you a store.
That's true.
No, you gonna learn.
But how many generations?
I don't know.
How many generations?
I agree with that.
My biggest thing is how many generations of privileges are gonna last?
Oh, now, if you a piece of crap, I can't. You know, you got one brother good, one brother crack. Like we can't.
No.
Now, there's a certain point where it's gonna get silly. We don't know where this gonna happen. But I mean, for what we doing and the opportunity I give you, what you do with Fresh, what you do with it, I give you all the tools. I can't continue to come after you. And that, you know,
If you don't instill the right mentality, when you tell somebody you're gonna give them something, do what they're gonna do, they're gonna fail. They're gonna fail. If you don't give the top, if you just told a barber to go start cutting hair, you're gonna fail. The reason you go to barber school is so that you can get the proper training.
I'm saying for our kids to skill our kids the same way. I'm saying we put them through we skill them up as well.
Correct. That's the point I was making. That's all I was saying.
So just to wrap it up, my last question to ask you is, how do you see yourself impacting community
In the next 10 years? Not necessarily a personal household. What would Tap's foundation of what he's done as far as being from 25 to now owning schools and Mosul Shop, what do you see yourself impacting the community in the next few years? How do you see yourself doing so? Does that matter?
Absolutely. Actually, me and a couple of my close guys got together recently and started an investment group. Through that investment group, we want to touch the 4 corners of this country. We want to start with, we want to be that example, a model for the youth to be able to look at about what can be done when we put our minds together, when like-minded people come together. We're not going to get discouraged on what happened in Tulsa or some of these other places. We're going to rebuild again. We're going to do it again. We're going to live up again. And we're going to make it happen.
And the gym, I'm glad you thought about it. We want to leave this right for history. So, the reason I even caught a podcast and writing books, I tell a story all the time. When I bought a book a couple of months ago, and the dude wrote it in 1991. And all that came to my mind is, God damn, he's still making money. Somebody is still making money. 1991. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that through my process of making future stuff more than making right now stuff. With the future, if someone picked this podcast up 20 years ago, what's a gem or nugget? If nobody ain't never heard nothing from Tap in their life, you want to make sure that you give about everything, just about life. Give us a gem or a nugget that you live by, you swore by, or somebody told you, that's near and dear to your heart.
Probably one thing that I definitely live by is it's a couple. So probably one thing that I definitely live by is that first and foremost, treat someone the way you want to be treated. And that comes from any elevation in life that you go to. Remember where you were. Remember how someone talked to you. So if you do excel into a management position or an ownership position, remember where you started from and remember how you should treat the people that's quote unquote under you.
Dope. Definitely, man. Appreciate it.
So I have Premier Women Academy, which is on 5800 North Sharon Avenue. Two Premier Women Houses, both of them on Harris Boulevard. One is on the boardwalk. My personal ID is Cut My Top and PremierWomenLounge.com.
We're gonna get the hair products.
So my hair products is right now I'm looking to put them online and haven't made it online yet. So
Come to the shop.
I'll let you know. Come to the
It's
shop.
another edition of Hustlepreneur Network. Hope you learned something, man. We appreciate y'all.
Peace.